today is new to me. Her name is Theresa Rose. She is a content crystallizer. Sounds a little woo-woo. Let's go see if she uses crystals. We'll see. A strategic co-creator and mindful performance thought leader. I can't wait to hear more about all of this. So she's going to be talking about how to crystallize your brilliance, discover who you really are, what you really do, and how the real you shines as brightly as possible. She partners with executives, thought leaders, and influencers to clarify their brilliance so they can strategically amplify it and monetize it optimally. As a mindful performance thought leader, Theresa also works with organizations and their teams to intentionally manage their energy, master their mindsets, and create positive cultures. Positive culture is what we're all looking for. So without any more delay, please welcome Theresa Rose.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I will say that I do have a crystal on. It's a Swarovski crystal that gets me all shiny, but the biggest crystal that I use is my big old melon. So we're going to be talking about how we can clarify, amplify, and monetize our brilliance today. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And before I get started, I just want to share a couple of things personally with each and every one of you, is that I have been in your situation more than once. And I'm an incredibly talented person who is a hard worker and who has a great level of expertise and experience. And I've been in the exact same situation that you've been in multiple times. So I know how it feels. And what I'm here to do is help you get some nugget of awesome that's going to help activate you and engage you in a way that's going to bring you the results that you seek. So that's my objective today, is to give you something that you can take in order to really create the future that you desire and that you deserve. And I also want to put a little plug in for the opportunity for a project manager. So I started my career as a project manager. I morphed a temporary secretarial position into a permanent assistant position that then became a coordinator position that then became a project manager position, and so on and so on and so on. So to me, the skills and the expertise that you acquire through doing project management is something that will serve you in many, many ways for many years to come. So please consider that as an option. Shannon, you can pay me later. So let's talk about how we can crystallize our brilliance using the crystallization effect. I'm going to share with you my screen and pray to the technology gods that this is all going to work out for all of us. And if you all could put yourself on mute a little bit, I would appreciate that, just so you hear one voice until we can open up the group. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is not about me. This is going to be about YOU, how you shine your bright, brilliant light as strategically as possible. How I have had the experience and joy of being able to do that with people is to as someone who's been in the National Speakers Association for many years. I was a past president of the Minnesota chapter, ran the Speakers Academy, ran the programming directorship, and I also ran a thought leadership group in a global premier executive network that had thought leaders from all over the world that I led and that I hosted a mastermind of during the entire time of COVID, and really understood fundamentally what the core problems were with people when that came to activating their brands. And whether that brand is thought leadership, whether that brand is actually a brand that you want to sell to the public, or your personal brand, which is what all of you are doing right now. That's the key aspect of where people are struggling, is really about clarity. And it's about the fact that there is just too much noise in the world right now, right? There's just so many shiny objects. There's just so many things blinking at you and blinking at the people that want to hire you that they really can't see. In my experience, they can't really even see your essence. They can't see your energy. They can't see how you can contribute to them because they are just completely and utterly distracted. Now, when you take the fact that there's so much noise And if you are not distinctive enough, because that's really an aspect of how we can stay marketable, again, as thought leaders, as brands, as people just wanting to go and get new opportunities, new jobs, if we are not distinctive enough, then what happens fundamentally is that we're going to have lost opportunities that are going to be left on the table. So what happens when we do that is we keep thinking we need to do more and more and more and more. The reality is that the time and the energy and the money just gets sucked down the drain. And that's a really, really sad thing, especially when I see people out there so much wanting to make a difference and want to do things in the world that are going to make the world a better place. And they're just wasting all of that beautiful energy that they have within them. And then they end up deciding that they just want to give up, right? If they want to give up just the position, they want to give up the role that they have. My computer is so unhappy right now. It's going so slow. So we're going to talk about how do we differentiate ourselves in a crowded, competitive marketplace, and how can we be distinctive enough to not only attract people, but to magnetize them, magnetizing those key influencers. And for you, your key influencer is, yes, certainly the hiring manager or the executive or the supervisor, but it's also the people in your communities, the people that are going to be the connector. The power partners are really, in fact, the more strategic relationships that you want to make sure that you're activating, as opposed to that individual decision maker at any given time. So what I did when I realized there were so many people out there that were just lost, they were confused, they couldn't see the forest for their trees, and they just kept sending out more and more of this content over and over and over again, I created the crystallization effect. And what that is where you can clarify your brilliance in a way that will stop wasting that time, money, and energy, and start focusing you on really what makes you different. What makes you different? Not to say that you're going to fix every single thing on every line item of the job offer or the job application you're looking for, but what's the essence of who you are that no one else is? When you know that, then you can amplify that brilliance efficiently, doing it effectively because you're being so clear, and you can do it enthusiastically. I won most enthusiastic in second grade. I also won most valuable cheerleader and the character that you're going to hate the most in the movie version of your high school. So I understand enthusiasm really goes a long way when you're selling something, and you're selling yourself each and every time. So when you can strategically amplify that brilliance of yours, then what's going to happen is you're going to monetize that brilliance, because the maximum opportunities are going to present themselves, because they can't help but be attracted to you when you are communicating the right essence of who you really are. Clarify, amplify, monetize. That's a model. What I just created is a framework in your mind of what I do. Clarify, amplify, monetize. I have sold many different opportunities for working with me as a co-creator, as a crystallizer, as a thought leader, being able to help them through 3 words: clarify, amplify, monetize. They understand it, and they can, more importantly, see it in their heads. This is important. This is important that we look at how you can actually see that in your head, because getting noticed above the noise that's out there in the world, magnetizing those people who really truly resonate with you while still staying happy. That's an important part. While still staying in your flow. Sure, we can all just, gut it out if we absolutely have to. But what we really want to do is find a place that each and every day, that when we wake up and we share our brilliance with the world in the ways that they take it in, that they're getting that same information. And more importantly, that information is coming truly from our hearts, because that's when you're going to stay in your flow state. What we're going to be talking about on how do you do that is literally a 3-dimensional contextual model of your brilliance. That's what I do to help other people get to the results that they seek. Today, we're not going to be able to do exactly this, but I'm going to get you kicked off to start thinking about it, okay? To really start thinking about how do you differentiate yourself and become distinctive enough in a very, very crowded marketplace of people who are looking for jobs. And more importantly, more and more of them will continue to look for jobs. So how do you find your special spirit print? To me, that's like a fingerprint, except who you are, right? How you show up. And that is a potent tool that you can use. Now, what it isn't is an acronym. Acronyms, I'm guilty of using acronyms as well. I use an acronym in another keynote that I do, and every time I use it, I sort of bite my tongue with it, because the reality is there's one acronym that really matters, and that's what's in it for me. The other acronyms that other people have used in thought leadership or in branding or any other things, if you say, I am the success principle, SUCCESS, and success stands for spontaneity and U stands for uniqueness. And nobody will remember that but the person who's creating it. So in my view, and I know it's very controversial in the world of thought leadership, in my view, acronyms, basing your entire essence on an acronym or your brand on an acronym is simply your tool. It's your tool to be able to remember things. It's not the tool that's going to help the audience, because the audience has no context around what success means or what MADNESS means. Now, except unless you, of course, they're universally known. If they're universally known, like FBI or MRI or UTI, then absolutely we can all still use acronyms, but we really need to look at it from a unique spirit print perspective. We want to go beyond that and start looking at pictures. Okay, pictures, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the right picture is worth 1,000 pictures. That's what Alan Weiss said, who is an incredible resource on coaching and consulting that I highly recommend. So how did I stumble into this world of the model? Well, I stumbled into it long ago in my growing up years. I am admittedly a super nerd, gifted and talented nerd ball. Okay. And I love word games. I love puzzles. I love how things get put together. My brain just works like that. So I think, okay, I speak on mindfulness, I speak on wellness, I speak on, productivity and how you show up and performances. And I had all these things that I was doing as a speaker many years ago. And I didn't quite know how I could compete against all the other wellness and mindfulness and work-life balance people. And oh my gosh, there were so many people that seemed to do what I did. So what I decided to do is say, oh, I'm just going to carve out my own then. So when I wrote that latest book, Mindful Performance, How to Powerfully Impact Profitability, Productivity, and Purpose, I decided that I was going to create my own thought leadership model. And how I did that was I went away to my best friend's house for a week. So I had no distractions. So that's an important lesson to remember, is whenever you have something really critical to do that requires deep thinking, not just doing, but deep thinking. When you want to get into that space of deep thinking, remove all distractions, remove all the noise around you so you can allow a slower vibration to emerge. You can allow yourself to settle down. You can allow your nervous system to calm down, and then allows your brain to really truly think about what you're activating around and not all the shiny objects that are blinking at you. So I go to my best friend's house with a stack of Post-it notes and some Sharpies, a gifted and talented nerd's dream. And I just started writing down things that I knew that would help people. Things that I learned when I was a consultant, things that I learned when I was in senior management of marketing and product development for a Fortune 100 company, things I learned owning a healing center, going through and teaching meditation on a weekly basis, all the things that I knew through the whole wonderful kaleidoscope that is my life. And I wrote them all down on these pieces of Post-it notes, and I put them all around. And as I said, it was a puzzler's dream. I moved them all around and created all of this essence of like, here's what I know. This is what I know. And in my book, in each one of those 9 sections, there are 9 strategies, 3 for at home, 3 for at work, and 3 for all day long. And that shows when somebody says, oh, so what do you speak on? I say mindful performance, the combination between mindfulness and business management best practices. Everybody knows they need mindfulness. They just don't know how. I taught them how. And I can draw that picture on a cocktail napkin and shown them the 9 areas of focus, just doodling it out and saying, this is what I do. And I can have that conversation in 1 minute to show them what I know and what I do. And I no longer then need to be in the conversation that I am like everyone else. I no longer needed to get in the conversation that I'm not worth my fee. This is a substantiator of your expertise. So that was my first foray into doing it, and I still utilize it. I am doing in the next couple of months several versions of corporate book clubs, online book clubs, based on this book that I've written several years ago. So this isn't just about airy fairy cosmic muffiny seventh layer of the unicorn woo woo. Okay, this is do re mi. This is bottom line. You're going to get revenue from this when you can do the deep thinking and be able to create what you really are brilliant at. Because guess what? Business takes place everywhere, everywhere. That always being prepared for, I'm going to have drinks with this person. I'm going to have dinner with this person. I'm going to go to this drag show with this person. And as a stand-up comedian, I have done business in a drag show. So I was the the kind of token Karen at the drag show. So all of these different things that, you want to be flexible, you want to be malleable, you want to be able to have the best conversation you can possibly have with that person, no matter where you are. So I thought to myself, okay, how can I do this for other people? And what's the best strategy? And I thought about my daughter, Emma. My daughter is now 21. And that was a tough thing to go through, to really feel the final, release of the parenting the child. But I used to be, my former husband and I were readers to Emma. How many of you have read to your children before? Board books, specifically board books. Can you think about, put in the chat, what was your favorite board book to read to your children, or that you even remember as a child? One of the other favorite ones that Emma loved was Brown Bear. Okay, I don't know if any of you all remember Brown Bear, Brown Bear. So type in there, just for funsies, which ones that you used to read to your kids, the babies, the little ones, right? So there's usually favorites that they have. My heart's going to explode starting to look at some of these. So as we look at these books, what makes them special? Okay, well, what makes them special? I'm going to read one to you. That one, Going to Bed book. Just like I did for Emma. Good night, Moon. Good one, Kathy. The sun has set not long ago. Now everybody goes below to take a bath in one big tub, which sounds a little weird, but we'll go with it. With soap all over, scrub, scrub, scrub. They hang their towels on the wall in fine pajamas, big and small. With some on top and some beneath, they brush and brush and brush their teeth. And when the moon is on the rise, they all go up to exercise. Who exercises right before bed? I don't get it, but whatever, not my book. And down once more, but not so fast. They're on their way to bed at last. The day is done. They say good night, and somebody turns off the light. The moon is high, the sea is deep. They rock and rock and rock to sleep. When you're reading these books, why do we read these books to our children when they can't read? When they can't understand all the words? Why do we read to them? We read to them, and why they like books like this, in addition to absolutely textures, and of course colors and teaching, but why do we go back to them over and over and over and over and over again? I've known 20 years ago, they all go up to exercise, because that was Emma's favorite part. What do these children's books have? They have three things in common that make them so irresistible to parents and children alike. They have positivity. They feel good. They have poetry. They rock and rock and rock to sleep. And they have patterns. They know what to expect next. Why is this important to us? Well, we crave these things as well. Your hiring manager craves those things. They crave a positive message. They crave maybe not a poetry in an email, but they crave a well-written email. They crave the use of words in a way that feels good. And we also love patterns when we know what to expect. That's why 2020 was so crazy town. 2020 was crazy town. In addition to cutting our own hair and gargling with hand sanitizer and wearing hazmats to Whole Foods, the reason why it was so terrifying is because there was no pattern. We didn't know what to expect. And that is when we can shut down in our minds. So when you think about your distracted, overwhelmed, noisy buyer or power partner or networking buddy, when you're thinking about all those people that you want to pull into your orbit and magnetize to you, because that's the way you're going to get a job, in my experience. And you're going to have more opportunities to come to you when you increase your orbit of people and you magnetize them to you using the language of positivity and poetry and patterning helps that. Now, you don't have to do all that. But here's an example of a few of the people that I've worked with. I've also helped with people that have found jobs either directly as a result of doing the crystallization work that I do with them, or tangentially through getting a speaking job that was strategic in nature, then he parlayed that into a full-time job. So think about that also as an opportunity, is if you have the desire, if you have the bandwidth, if you have the resources that you want to take that job through a secondary line, which is getting on stages first. And when I say getting on stages, I mean these glowing rectangles. Okay. Yes, there are also big, wonderful stages you can be on, and I look forward to being on one next week. But you can also just consider these as stages as well. And you can start doing speaking for the right organization about the right topics that then can be parlayed into either another contract job, longer contract job, or full-time employee job, which is what one of my clients did. So all of these different, and by the way, if you can't see these, because I know my internet is terrible, you can go to my website and take a look at them as well. On the models page, you'll see plenty of them. Some of my clients who have been crystallized, they decide they want to put that on their own website. They want to be able to articulate very clearly what they do on a cocktail napkin, that they do it for this and this and this. Very easy, very simple. And some of my clients have even taken it to such a degree where I have one that wanted to have, she was so passionate about doing, having a chair. There's a beautiful chair in one of those pictures, a beautiful chair that would change the world. It was the chair of joy. And she knew that if you could sit in the chair of joy and be there every day, that it could transform your world. But what she realized is all these people were attracted to the idea, but they weren't magnetized to the idea. They weren't staying in her orbit and taking action. And that's the key. It's not just enough to be attractive. You want to magnetize, which will then create action orientation. So she and I worked together, and I dove into her brilliance, which I'm going to share a little bit more about what that looked like, dove into her brilliance to such a degree where I watched her webinars and I listened to her speeches and I read posts and I saw all these words, avalanche of words that she had. And I realized in my crystallization process that I realized there's really, and she was very passionate about having this be something that a child could do. She wants to change the world one chair at a time, and she wants children to be able to use this, replacing it with the timeout chair. So I crafted a crystallized model of her brilliance around 4 words: sit, breathe, think, feel. And when those words got crystallized down to their essence of what she believed in and what she wanted to share, now she's got a framework around it that it is now galvanized into a global movement. And she has all these different, not only products that she sells, but she also has programs that she delivers all around those 4 simple words of sit, breathe, think, and feel. So doing it alone is hard, though. You can't do it. Doing it alone is hard. It's not as hard as 75 hard, but it's pretty freaking hard. And one of the reasons why it's so hard is because we cannot see our brilliance. And you've probably heard it a million times. You can't see the label from the inside of the bottle. My experience as a strategic co-creator that have worked with very, very, very bright people, they simply can't see it for themselves. So wherever you are in your journey, please take that in, let that sink in, and have you really embrace the idea that the most brilliant people among us cannot do it alone. Okay, we all need to have the support, and that's why it's so great that you're here and that you're getting the support that you need with your colleagues and your compadres. So how I do that in particular is I am a very big fan of the mastermind. I've been a fan of the mastermind for my whole life, and I wish I had that book. It's in a different, it's actually, I brought it to my new home in California. But it's my mom's 1975 version of Think and Grow Rich of Napoleon Hill. It's a weathered $1.95 copy that she used to have on her nightstand, and I grew up with this. I grew up being this chipper, this enthusiastic, and this positive. It was just something that was in the fabric of how I grew up. And I understood very, very early on the concept of the mastermind, and not just as what people now talk about as something to sell, and that this is sort of the word of the day in business land. This is really, in my world, a strategically sacred practice. And that is when two or more people are working together in harmony for a single purpose. And in my world, when I do a mastermind of two to help somebody crystallize their brilliance, that single purpose isn't me selling them more services. That single purpose is their greatest success. So when I digest, distill, design, and deliver their brilliance in a three-dimensional format, I am doing so by bringing every single resource that I have to bear. I make sure that I'm doing it with intention and with energy and focus and singularity, and nothing is distracting me, because that is my one goal at that time. I encourage you to get involved in masterminds. This is kind of a mastermind in and of itself, but really looking at where you can have focused time to ensure that each person is really getting the tools that they need and the support that they need. Because in my world, again, I break it down into its essence. I'm about crystallizing everything. I read Think and Grow Rich over and over and over again. Fundamentally, what I see is an equation. Economics plus energetics equals exponential growth. See, now you don't have to read it if you've not read it. Economics plus energetics equals exponential growth. Economics are the models, the strategies, the tactics that we want to use, the networks that we have that we're going to plug into, and the resources that we have. And just as importantly is the energetics of it all. Who are the people, and where's your energy coming from for your vision? Is it big enough? Many times I work with people, even though I'm crystallizing down to its essence, their brilliance on a cocktail napkin. What I also do as an opportunity as a co-creator is expand their vision. So yes, the tactical part of like how you're actually going to execute it is now down to its essence, but I also expand their vision of what they can really accomplish and what they can do that they haven't even seen for themselves. And of course, I give them the support, the good old fashioned mojo, and give them the creativity and the ideas that they need to be able to get that exponential growth. So look at that equation in your life and see, where am I strong in the economics portion? Where am I strong in the energetics portion? And where can I boost them up to be able to really get the resources that you desire and you deserve? So here's just a picture of, and I'll just skip this, of several of my crystallized clients from all walks of life. When we do those kinds of things, work becomes easy. It becomes easier because it's inspired action instead of this grueling, tiring thing that we need to do all the time. And boy, oh boy, you know what? Our life is finite. It's precious. It's precious. And we all should be looking at what we can do every single day when we are given the gift to wake up, to make work, or the looking of work, which is work, inspired, right? To go, yeah, baby, because when you show up with that kind of energy, when you can show up with that kind of belief in yourself and what you do, then that's going to come across because people feel it. When I digest people's brilliance and I look at their content leaves the clues. Their content leaves the clues of where their brilliance is. I will actually feel it in my heart, in my body, that they light up. And that's where I encourage you to look at too, is where can you get to that point? So just to break it down, what that process is, and you can do this for yourself. You can put your own box of brilliance together, okay? Open a Google Drive, open a Dropbox or an Apple Drive or whatever you want to do, and imagine for yourself you're creating a brand new container of your brilliance, and you get to fill it. And you look at everything that you've done in your life. Now, I'm not talking about resumes. That to me is just wah, 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 okay? Where I really light up is where people actually shine. And it's not just in the data. So it's in the blogs you've written, in the websites that you've created, or the shows you've been on, or the speeches you've done, or the curriculum you've written, stories you've told, articles you've written, books, posts, social media posts, podcast interviews, all those things. You've been brilliant. Every one of us has been brilliant in many, many ways, and we don't even notice it. I'm inviting you to have an opportunity to create your own box of brilliance, so you can drop those things in there and you can start to do the process of the crystallization process. How do I fundamentally show up? Because success absolutely positively leaves clues. Let's talk about yours. I'm going to give you a quick little snapshot opportunity exercise so you can start to move forward. Okay, now it's not going to have poetry and alliteration, and it's not going to be designed perfectly, but it's going to get you on the path. And that's the most important thing, is to get you started in your crystallization. Number one, clarify. So often what people do, and they make the mistakes of, and I saw so much money being wasted over my career of watching fellow speakers, authors, coaches just burn money, is they would, in my model of the world, clarify, amplify, monetize. They spent all their time focusing on how can I monetize? How can I monetize? How can I monetize? And when they weren't getting the results that they sought in the monetization, they spend a lot more money and time in the amplification stage. I need to get a PR firm. I need to get a lead gen opportunity. I need to hire this person. I need to get in this network. I need to do blah, 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 all these different things that they thought they needed to do. And they wasted so much of their precious energy and diffusing it out into the world, because they all spoke different languages. All those different things were different messaging, that they weren't doing the fundamental aspect of clarify, that a child could understand. So how can we do that? It's really simple and really beautiful. And that is, I am. The most perfect sentence in the world. I am. What are you? Not the nouns, the adjectives. Okay. The nouns are what your resume has. The adjectives is what the cocktail napkin will have for you right now. The adjectives. What are the 3 words? And I want you to write them down and preferably share them in the chat. Because as soon as you share it with another person, it compounds the energy and makes it bigger and makes it more powerful, because now it's known. Right? So I am. What are you? Think about those 3 words that you not want to be, what you are, as a descriptor, an adjective. Because when you know these 3 words, just three words, 3 adjectives, 3 adjectives. I am this, I am this, I am this. Not a great connect. What does that mean? A great connector is a noun. What's the description of that? I am, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. When I think about, I'm a lot of things, okay, and some of them are not suitable for work. What I am, however, when I think about me and my essence and how I show up, I am creative. I create brilliant things in words and in pictures. I am courageous. I get on remote control on MTV when I'm 18 years old. I move across country in nothing but a Mazda and 3 suitcases. I sit with my mother when she takes her last breath. There's a lot of ways, a million ways I've showed up as courageous. And I'm also connected to who I am and my mission, connected to the people that I work with, and I'm connected to a higher source that drives all of what I do and is my source of energy, which is what everybody always says, my energy. If there's one word they all talk about, it's my energy. But my energy stems from my creativity and my courage and my connectedness. So what's yours? When you look at, I'm going to take Adrian. Is it Adria? I want to say it right. I want to make sure I just
Adria.
Adria. Thank you, Adria.
Sure.
So when I look at kind, creative, and observant, those are great. If you know that those are your three things, the next thing you want to ask yourself is, what I said is, like, I am creative because I have written 5 books and I do design spirit prints of people, and I know why I'm those things. I can prove why I'm those things. I can just talk them, right? I can just talk them as to why I am those things. It's not just the I ams, it's the because. I am this because I've done, or because I do, right? So when you look at kind, creative, and observant, Adria, I want you to imagine, I just want you to imagine that the thing that you're going to put inside of you, when you look at kind and creative and observant, is like, what's that look like? What does that look like? Like, even something, what's kind of coming to me just now, even thinking about it as I get creative and thinking of who you are and what you could do, you could imagine of what an animal that you love, that is that kind of thing. Somebody, some animal that's like really kind of curious and does things and builds things, like a bird. A bird is very observant. And it's very kind of sweet, and it pays attention, and it does things that you never thought a bird could do. Create a whole host. I have a whole home in my balcony because of a bird setting up her home, okay, with her little chicks that she has. So thinking about who that is, and then every time you answer an ad, every time you have a conversation, every time you write a post on social, every time you show up anywhere, I want you to imagine, am I being this person? Am I being this aspect of myself, kind, creative, and observant? Because if those are your 3 superpowers, and it's only you are the only person that has those 3 words. There's a lot of people that are kind, and there's a lot of people that are observant, and there's a lot of people that are creative. But you're the first person I've ever met that have said those 3 words in those orders: kind, creative, and observant. So be that. And when you are that fully everywhere you show up, what's going to happen is the people that want to work with somebody who's kind and creative and observant is going to find you. Okay. So you're going to be doing this through the amplify stage. Now you've got clarification. Now you want to amplify that message over and over and over again. It's fundamentally about the 4 places that people find our brilliance. Okay. They find it in the way, how they read us. Now think about these, write these 4 words down: read, listen, watch, and interact. Okay, so you got your 3 words, your I am words, and you've got the 4 ways people are going to find you. They're going to read you on a blog post. They're going to listen to you on a phone call that you make, or a podcast interview that you do, or a networking group that you speak at. They're going to, now my whole thing has gone completely whacked. Oh, apologies. I guess you needed to see it again. Okay. Read, listen, watch, and interact. Those 4 ways. So what they're reading in you, right? How are they reading yourself? How are they listening to you? How are they watching you? In like how does kindness and observance and creativity get reflected on your LinkedIn profile? Right? Would I feel those? Would those words be somewhere in the about section that tells me who you are and what you're doing? And oh my gosh, my computer is so ready to just be like, it's Friday, girl. You done. Almost. Okay, so read, listen, watch, and interact. And now when we look at clarify, amplify, so amplifying strategically, if those are your 3 words, just try it for a week and see what happens. If you don't believe me, try it just to do it as a test, okay? Do it as a test to say, I know I'm going to spend my energy strategically amplifying these 3 words across it, even in conversations. Now, you don't have to say, now, don't forget, I'm a kind person, but show your kindness. Show your creativity, show your observance. Notice something about them, right? Notice something about the world that you haven't previously shared. Do that for 1 week. Crystallize your efforts for 1 week to put your cocktail napkin out into the world in the 4 ways in which people take you. They read, they listen, they interact, and they watch you. And then what's going to happen naturally when you do that is you are going to monetize, okay? Because the money is just energy. Monetization is just energy, and it's going to find its way to you. All right, opportunities are going to present itself. Now, your key in the monetization stage isn't to necessarily think of every single thing that you need to do. What the more important step is in the monetization is to be aware of the signs when it shows up, because oftentimes monetization opportunities, at least in my experience, monetization opportunities don't just come exactly the way you want it, exactly in the frame that you had with the exact amount of money that you expected. And here you go, just sign it right there. That's all you got to do. That's not how it really works. Monetization opportunities sort of swirl around us a little bit. Once we've really gotten clear about who we are and we've amplified ourselves strategically, so now we're strong, right? Every message that they're getting everywhere, anyone who's plugging into us is getting that same message. The monetization opportunities are sort of like, woo, they're swirling around. Sometimes they're clear if we're the ones defining it. In other words, if I'm the one defining it to say, my webinar costs this amount of money, and my coaching program costs this, and my community costs this. Those are monetization opportunities that I can say are very clear, but there's lots of others that swirl around me all the time that aren't in my buckets. And my job is to make sure that I don't automatically just discount it because they're not in my 3 buckets. Okay. A lot of times we'll do that. Things will flow into our orbit all the time that we're like, yeah, if only I could do that, but I'm not interested in that. Or that's not what I'm looking for. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. If you've already clarified and amplified on a consistent basis, and there's somebody swirling around that wants to give you money or that wants to partner with you in some way, pay attention. Because they're one of those people that have been magnetized around you, and then open with wider eyes. That's where a mastermind group is really going to help you, because masterminds are going to help you look at the expansive view of things and be able to say, oh, I think there's actually some opportunities here. I don't have to say, oh, it's only going to be this or only going to be this, right? Look at those opportunities with fresh eyes. And once we do that, we are really going to be the ones that we shine brightly as possible.